left coast is the best coast.
How's everyone doing today? Welcome Andy from the Hollow Chronicles podcast to episode 14 of Let 'Em Breathe. I'm Rick from Left Coast Graphics and the Heroes and Villains Toys. We're going to talk a little vintage Star Wars today, and I'm going to open up a couple of figures. And Andy's welcome to let some breathe as well. I think Andy, you're more of an inboxer. Am I correct?
No, I'm I'm an out of box guy. Now I collect the boxes though.
Oh, absolutely.
I just don't. I don't require that they be sealed. In fact, I like to hold them and mess with them and stuff. I prefer that. I appreciate inbox, especially the vintage stuff, but I don't really have much of it. I'm more out of the box. I'm more take them out and play kind of guy.
Yeah, Betty. But modern toys, you're not a big modern. Actually, you collect a vintage collection. Am I wrong? Or
I have at times been all in on Black Series, vintage collection. I took a turn at Funko Pops for a while. Have had two Hot Toys, but it's 95% vintage at this point. I still have some vintage collection, like some clone troopers and stuff like that, but it's mostly vintage stuff and movie posters.
Have you already got rid of the Hot Toys? Because I remember those videos not even that long ago.
So most of the videos that we did on the Hot Toys were Josh's.
Okay.
And yeah, he still has all his, and yeah, I still have the two that. Actually, one of them now is in Josh's house, but yeah, I still have mine.
Do you still have like every Black Series or vintage collection you ever had, or have you passed some on, sold some off, traded, whatnot, and continued hard on the vintage stuff?
I have since sold off all of my Black Series stuff, and I did that about a year ago. And I've been like a slow drip getting rid of the vintage collection ones. The ones that I have left are the ones that I'm going to keep. But
okay, that's a lot like me. Like I have sold off most of my Black Series and most of my vintage collection, but a lot I've kept. It's like, so that means I had a lot to begin with, right? Like which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. Like I'm an army builder kind of guy. So like stormtroopers and sand people and Jawas, you can't have just one, man. Even if it's Black Series or vintage collection or vintage, to me, I don't know. I'm a sucker for the Kenner or the vintage Star Wars, original Star Wars, the trilogy, army builders. It's just, that's the way it is. So what I've been going through my loose Kenner figures that I have here, and selling off my, many of my army builders, because I live in a small apartment. I don't plan on, expanding to triple the size anytime soon. And I can't display it all. So I'll keep 10 stormtroopers, 10 Jawa. Like I'll keep, because I have more than 10 of them. Weirdly, I've been collecting the vintage Star Wars since the early 90s. We were talking a little bit before we went live about, when you started and I started, but yeah, I started in the mid 90s again, when the big rush of episode 1, 2, and 3 were coming out, and there was lots of marketing. I was an excited young man. I'm like, oh my God, they're making new freaking Star Wars. And I got back into the vintage toys. I had nothing from my childhood, but I remember what I had and what I didn't have. And I decided I got to collect them all. Like I need every figure they ever made, and I need every X-Wing and TIE Fighter and play set.
Well,
I need them all.
The nice thing about collecting the vintage Star Wars is that there's a hard stop at like 96.
That's right. What's Ben say? From a certain point of view, not a good accent, because you're getting into you made a left turn, and now you're going the variant and the different international CEOs. I don't want to call those variants. They're truly different. I guess they're a variation, right? Different
I
origin.
mean, yeah, by definition, yeah, but yeah,
Like I don't
they were
consider
mass
this.
produced, so
I don't consider this a variant. I consider this a factory error where they forgot to like paint his crotch the same color as his pants. So it's not something I collect, but I mean, it's just a weird oddball thing.
yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
cool, by the way.
factory error compared to a variant. So slowly we're populating the chat. Welcome, Miss Deddy and Mr. Duffman. Mr. B has showed up. So I know it's bright and early Sunday morning, 10 o'clock on the left coast, and you guys in the East Coast got to be out mowing the lawn, right? Where's G-Force? So I'm going to show you something here, buddy.
Okay.
Let me go to my settings. So I was talking about when I started collecting the vintage Star Wars again, and when I bought a collection from a high school football teammate and friend, Tony. I bought his collection, and his initials are on the bottom of the feet of many of my loose keepers that I will never sell or trade away or get rid of. They're part of my collection, and I cherish them. I know where they came from and who played with these, and you can tell how much he took care of them.
Yeah.
So that's when I started collecting the vintage Star Wars again as an adult. I want to ask the same question to you. Do you have any of your childhood toys still? Or did you start again as an adult like myself?
I have a couple of things. So, like I was telling you earlier, I had some Star Wars as a kid, but I mostly had G.I. Joe. So the Star Wars stuff that I did have could all fit in one box, and it was my TIE Interceptor box. So I still have my TIE Interceptor from when I was a kid, plus the box. That's where we kept all of our Star Wars stuff, because there wasn't that much. And so from my childhood, that's the only thing that I still have. I have my cousin who is 5 years older than me and who was way into Star Wars, because he was about 8 or 9 or 10 years old when Star Wars came out, and he I have his Death Star playset. Not Death Star, sorry, excuse me, Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer,
yeah. I have that of his from when he was a kid, and then I still have, and it's just funny that you bring it up, I've still got my youngest brother's droid's lunchbox.
Dude, that is fantastic.
Yeah, and
I've never seen that one. I know it exists, but I've never seen it come up.
It's still got his name and address on it.
Oh my goodness! Now, was there like a plastic thermos with that one? That's the one. Look at that, eh? And it's got the droids. Oh, and he's blue. Crazy. Like, did they run out of white ink when they printed that? Like,
yeah, I don't know, because the top is kind of clear, like the same color of the.
Oh, there is white in there, yeah.
Just the top though, but the bottom bottom part of him is blue.
Is he blue on the lunchbox as well? I didn't.
No, he looks like he's supposed to.
That's cool. I remember I'm pretty sure I had an Empire Strikes Back metal lunchbox, but I don't think I ever used it as a kid too much. Like, I don't know why, but maybe I didn't like being a nerd. That's the one. I didn't like being a nerd as a kid, so I a lot of paper bagging it, Tupperware and paper bagging it.
Yeah.
But all of my lunchboxes I have now, I have now are more modern ones, but in that retro style. Yeah. So I got this cool Boba Fett one and Mandalorian one in a retro design. I think those are from Celebration. And then I think one from Target. That's a good one too.
I had this one when I was a kid, but I beat it to heck. This was not mine from childhood.
But even those when they're all beat to heck, they still look awesome, because I don't want to call it patina, but rusted and dinged up metal edges on 40-year-old collectible items look rad. Yeah, like that. Like that looks just as rad as the other one.
This is
You know what I
road
mean,
rash.
right?
See, like, because I remember in kindergarten, I had a red plastic one of The Empire Strikes Back,
Oh, another, yeah.
and of course, it being plastic and me being a rough and tumble boy, like that didn't last very long. So then the next year, I got a metal Return of the Jedi one, and all that meant is that me and my buddies would have contests of how far can you throw your
Oh,
metal
okay.
lunchbox, on the ground and see how far it'll slide.
You can throw it over the bus.
So
Yeah. Did you win?
I don't. No, I think we all lost because we beat up our lunch boxes.
That's hilarious. We got Shabby's joined us here. Welcome, Mr. Shabby. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Yeah, Joe. He went to the Joe Fest with G-Force and Scoot Pete and all those crew. That would be pretty cool. That's way far away for us, though, man.
It's a bit of a hike. Yeah,
it's the opposite of the left coast. So yeah, I got a couple of things I want to ask Andy. The first one, the most important one, is how many times have you seen Bigfoot?
So what's really kind of crazy is that the modern legend of Bigfoot kind of originated in the town that I'm in.
That?
And I can. All right,
important stuff here, guys. We only talk about the most important stuff on the show.
I saw on my way driving to school one morning when I was in high school, something caught my eye because I live out in the woods too. So, like, I'm not in town.
Currently still?
So yeah, I built a house near my parents.
Okay.
Where I grew up, so I still kind of live in that same area. And I was driving to school one morning, and something caught my eye, and I looked, and I swear to goodness, it looked like Chewbacca was walking away from me just into the forest. And I double taked, and I couldn't see anything, and it was like, that was kind of weird. And it was walking like towards where my parents' house was. So I was like, I wonder if I should call.
Who would I call? Just call mom?
Yeah, and it's not like I had a cell phone or anything, but
there you go, folks. Bigfoot is real. Unfortunately, Andy didn't have his iPhone with him in 1980 or whenever this happened. But
yeah, that would have been 94, 93, 94, somewhere in there. But let me tell you this, Rick, because I know you'd appreciate it. Every year in my town of Kelso, Washington, we have Squatch Fest. And
I'm in, man. I want to go.
And it's growing. It's a growing thing. One of our good buddies it helps kind of put it on, and they like bring in people that have that are Sasquatch hunters and
like Bobo
and Bigfoot. People that are chasing Bigfoot and experts. I think they've had some like Native Americans come in and tell the story of like their version of Bigfoot and that. Like it's kind of a growing thing, and they have it's a weekend out of the summer, and if you're into that, man, this is the place to be.
It's one of the most fun things like I've ever enjoyed being a fan of my whole life, like as a kid and even now as an adult. My good buddy, his name is BC Sasquatch Man on all the social medias. Big bald bearded guy like me. He's like he's not Bigfoot, but he's close as you can come to becoming Bigfoot in human form. But he's a great buddy of mine, toy collecting buddy as well. He's a freak, and he would love to go to like Sasquatch Fest or Bigfoot, a Palooza, whatever. I'm sure there's plenty of them all over North America, man. Like him and me would have a blast. And I know, and Tom Burgess, I grew up Star Wars. He's another, fanatic of the whole, Bigfoot and what it's all about. So that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that story, and I'll keep in touch, and we'll definitely talk about that if it's a a July long weekend or August, whenever that kind of happens, it's not that hard for me to get there, man.
No, I mean, I'm a 6-hour drive from Canada. So
Okay, so that's like 8 hour driving Canadian. Pretty cool.
in
Welcome,
metric.
Mr. Lobot, sir, and Dark
Eh,
Lycan. That's Baz, I believe, right?
yeah, that's Baz. Yeah.
So I got one more thing I can share you here before
Okay.
I ask you another fun question. Um, now, this is not a vintage item, but do you know what this is, or what do you think it is?
To me, that looks. Is that a button on top, or is that just the? There's no electronics in it. It's just a figure.
The legs. There's one leg.
So
Fortunately, it's not loaded, but it's an R2D2 lighter.
yeah.
And I got this in eBay, and man, when eBay was brand new, like early 90s, there's a little refill port down there. But it's kind of Kenner style. Not kind of,
Sure. You should get it loaded.
it's just it's an oddball thing I have in my collection. I know you're a fan of, the wacky and weirdness and
One
and
hundred
what
percent, Rick.
and what kind
100.
of fun Star Wars things exist with you got a couple little sculptures and lamps. But this is one of my cool ones that I can never part with. I've searched for them again, like on eBay and Google, and it's shit like that. It doesn't come up, man. Like I don't even see it on the Googles anymore.
Yeah, you should fill it back up and keep it in your pocket. In case the lady needs a cigarette. You know what I mean? Be a
Is that
gentleman.
and then she can use that line. Is that an R2D2 in your pocket, or are you happy to see me?
Yes.
So now I'm going to ask you about Star Wars play sets.
Okay.
And because you were talking boxed and play sets, all that kind of stuff, did you have any Star Wars or other toy play sets as a kid, and any fond memories of one in particular, and why, and what that memory might be of it? Because then I
Uh,
have one similar to share with you.
okay. So growing up, we didn't have, like I said, we didn't have a lot of Star Wars stuff because as far as me and my brothers, I was the only one that was kind of into it. And from a dollars and cents perspective, my parents wanted to get us GI Joes because that's something we all loved.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what about GI Joe play set?
okay, so everything GI Joe, yes.
Oh no shit.
Star Wars, no. But you know what? I'll say this, Rick. I knew the play sets existed and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know about you, but I took my toys outside a lot,
Absolutely, dude.
and so it was. I did not require play sets because I was flying my speeder bikes through my actual forest, and that
I
was
do
just
that across the
outside.
street here still.
And like if there were any watercraft, they were in mud puddles, that were around the
Oh yeah, yeah.
house. Or I remember taking the GI Joe Vamp Jeep, and that went all over the hillside up at my up in my parents' house.
Yeah, that
And so,
wheels
yeah,
for a
did we
reason.
use some helmets and some guns and along the way? Of course we did. Did we beat the heck out of our toys because we played hard with them? 100%. But what we didn't like. I didn't require play sets. I just take them outside, and even if it was raining out, like that's just what the scene was for that day. And if it snowed, absolutely, we'd take the GI Joe Snowcat out, and we'd I mean, it just like it didn't matter. But then like the GI Joe play sets that we'd have too, we'd take them outside and make bases out of them, and you try and put a few together and make
Yeah.
like a little outpost, and
Or a good
especially
guy
those-
base and a bad guy base.
exactly, and also what Star Wars things we had, GI Joe things we had, the few He-Man and Transformer things, like they all went out together. there was the good guys from all genres and the bad guys from all genres, and it was just a big battle royal with everybody. So
Okay.
like we didn't necessarily just keep the GI Joes and play GI Joe. We put them all together. Like Duke would fly the
The Fang
Star
or
Wars
the
land speeder.
yeah. Oh,
You know,
okay.
so he'd buzz around in that, and Cobra Commander would fly the TIE Interceptor once in a while, and it was just
Wow.
like we mixed and matched them all the time.
I remember having the GI Joe silver kind of home base, like that play set kind of thing.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember that because
yeah,
I remember the Canada flag it had. Like in Canada, our GI Joe vehicles had Canada flag stickers. Um, it wasn't like we didn't notice really. Like we knew
yeah.
the cartoon was Real American Hero. It was just we thought there was a reason maybe they had to have Canadian flags. It was kind of cool though.
So you had GI Joe, a real American hero, but with Canada flags.
It might have. I don't know 100%, but there might have been some inclination or writing, some advertisement that called it a Real International Hero. I
Or
don't
maybe the back was
recall.
in
Like it
French.
might have been a little bit more international with the marketing side of it, but I don't think the
What,
packaging was any different. The artwork definitely wasn't like re-airbrushed with
right.
maple leaves on it. I could be wrong, but I'm not a super you know nerd about the GI Joe stuff. I just know my snowmobile. I think it's a Snowcat
Yeah.
had cool little Canada flag stickers on it because I
So,
remember putting them on one of my TIE fighters and X-wings at one time. The little Canada flags. So because Luke was Canadian.
oh, of course he
But
was.
like you, outside a big white blanket, or inside a big white blanket could be some snow. I have fond memory of playing with a piece of driftwood that my mom and dad got, I think, before I was born on the West Coast here, on the island even. And it was all varnished, and it was in my family for like my whole childhood, all the different places we moved to.
Yeah.
And even from Ontario out here to Vancouver, it was still in my family. I remember my dad had it, and my dad passed away a couple of years ago. But it was one of the things I looked for to see if he still had it, and I guess it wasn't. And I was, I was disappointed to not have that again because I have super fond memories of that. Was an indoor play set. It was just a funky, twisted piece of driftwood with little
Yeah.
holes in it for Jawas and stormtroopers, whatever. I'll always remember that silly driftwood thing, and I wish I still had it in my family today. And the
Well,
other play set I have a super fond memory of at my godparents' house when we would go there also go there over some Christmas holidays and whatnot because they lived in the same town. There, I had the Kenner / Palatoy chipboard playset,
yeah.
and they lived in a big fancy apartment, and they had an area of the apartment where there's like 3 levels of stairs to like the big living room kind of area, and that was my play area. Was on these stairs. I would have this play set that they gifted me one Christmas or birthday, and I would play with it on these stairs. Like it came with stormtroopers and had some other figures, and we left it there. It was something that we left with them at their house, so I had something to play with when we went over there, kind of like you might have at your grandparents or stuff as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is just a neat little piece of swag that I got in Chicago from some of the UK, the Star Wars FUK collectors group. They made these really super awesome mini play sets, and they're made of the same. It's the same thickness of
Oh, yeah.
chipboard, and I freaking love it, man. I
That
thought
is
you'd
cool.
get a good kick out of that. Because this was something I had as a kid, and I have one again. I've reacquired one when I got into collecting again, and it would be a hard one for me to part with because I do have those memories directly attached to that chipboard playset growing up as a kid. With I think my sister had a dollhouse. I had this playset, and it's a great memory along with that piece of driftwood. And when you said playing outside, I remember playing outside with Hot Wheels cars, and you dig little tunnels, and and things in the dirt, and because there'd be like 5 or 6 kids out there doing the same thing. They'd bring their little case of cars, and you'd make all these little tracks with Hot Wheels. So I don't know how much younger I was doing that, but I have fond memories of doing that outside as well,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool, man. Like, I'm a little bit older than you. You're like, what, 30 at the oldest?
I'm 46.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea, dude. I didn't think you were 40.
No,
I
look at the
figured
white.
you were in your 30s.
Look at the white.
Well, I call it blonde.
It's hot. It's really
'Cause
blonde.
The sun outside makes it more blonde,
Yeah. Well,
Okay, so
a couple
now,
things, though, Rick. Like so I still have some of the GI Joe stuff for me and my brothers, and one of our snowmobiles has a Canadian flag on it too.
no shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, and
It's way better, isn't it?
It's way faster, way faster.
It goes so much faster in the snow.
but I think I actually think that I don't think they advertised GI Joe any different in Canada than they did in the States. Like I want to say maybe that they could have had some French on the back, kind of like they did with some of the Star Wars stuff.
That for sure it did, because that French bilingual law came into effect and then went out of effect. Like, it kind of changed. Like, that's why even with Star Wars there was a transition where some of the stuff did say like 50% of the packaging had to be French. Like, that was, and I think still to this day that is basically the requirement in Canada. Like, so one side's got to be English, the other side's got to be French, and that includes like the ingredients to, like, your frozen chicken nuggets, or your retros. And don't blame Canada, but we're one of the reasons why all packaging on toys is multilingual, because French is not from Canada, it's all from France, of course, but I think we are one of the first countries that implemented like these bilingual, multilingual type of rules in our product packaging, whether it's food or toys or Sony TVs or whatnot. And it's also one of the reasons why Target came to Canada and failed and is no longer in Canada, because they weren't following those rules to the 100th degree, and they got, I don't know if they got fined or spanked with a paddle, or just like, what, or they, whatever.
Well, if it was back in the 80s, if it was back in the 80s, they definitely got spanked with a paddle.
No, Target came here in like the 2000s and left like 2.5 years later. Like, they didn't last very long. It's weird. We had them for a while, so we don't get a lot of the Target exclusives all the time, because Toys R Us doesn't always fulfill them. Shabby remembers, playing with the figures in the Christmas tree. So that's, my cat, all the cats I've ever had love playing in the tree, that's for sure. But I'm trying to think, I must have played under the tree with a couple of Jeeps and bases and stuff. Absolutely, man. So one of the most important questions I ask all my guests on Let 'Em Breathe is, who is your favorite Kenner Star Wars action figure, and why is it Hammerhead?
That's a fair question. Let me see. Hammerhead. I don't think I have. Oh yeah, I do. Hold on a sec, Rick. Let me grab something here.
Welcome, Super John. Hello, Cameron.
So I've got a couple of nice little Hammerheads here.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Your guy. But I've been going back through and getting the card backs for, like, especially the earlier ones. And what's really cool about this one, is that it's in good shape and you can still see, the image really well, and the pill is, intact, and
it's one of my favorites, and it's not just because it's of Hammerhead. Just, when back then there's used some airbrush, like that was the technology they had, not Photoshop, and like they literally airbrushed on top of printed photos and whatnot. And I just thought that one, all the Kenner colors of all the toys is what, really engaged me as a kid. But Hammerhead's colors and the color of that packaging with the yellow, and I loved it, man. It's one of my faves as well.
So what I really like about this is on the back is that the proof of purchase is still there, but you can see that whoever had this was crossing off figures.
I'm guilty. I've done it. I've done it more than once, man.
And I don't. To me, that doesn't take away anything from the card. To me, that just shows like whoever had this was just like me, because I did that too. And I did that on Star Wars, and I did that on G.I. Joe. I would cross
kind of like why I like the initials on these figures is there is a history to it, but I also know that history. So what would be double awesome is if that was your childhood card back.
Yeah.
And because I remember as a kid, you would have to transition. So if you had the original 12 back, and then they started making more figures, with R5D4 and Luke X-Wing started coming out. Then you had to get the new card back to start marking your X. And I'm guilty. I did that as a kid.
Yeah. That was your checklist.
Those are things I still had. Yeah. Just insane. So welcome Super John and Cameron to the chat. Hope everyone's having a good weekend so far. So you're jumping into the big variant left turn when it comes to collecting the vintage Star Wars stuff. So are you open to like whatever you don't currently have in your collection, or are you searching for particular, variants or international CEOs? Because we're talking about those being variants as well now, or like an unpainted or painted helmet, things like that. And at the same note, is there like a holy grail of those variants that you would love to have? And I don't even like most expensive item, but just like one that's like, you know what, I really want this part of my collection, and it's realistic.
So a realistic thing that I'm not in a hurry to get, but I'm going to get one eventually, is going to be a painted helmet Boba Fett. Again, it's a variant, and you can find them for in decent shape for $600-700. So they're a little spendy, and up, right? Especially on condition. A nice one can go for $1,500, no problem.
Insane, man.
But while my goal right now is to go back through and get more card backs. I've got quite a few, but there's still some that I don't have yet, and it's mostly ones in the Empire Strikes Back line are the ones that I still need. I want to get a card back from every major country's.
I hear you. Usual Mike's going that route now.
Yes, he is. And so I don't know if he's going international, but he's definitely like going for card backs right now. So I would still like to add to mine a Takara card back, which is Japan.
Yeah.
I still need a German one. And the German one, you'd only know is German on the back because they put a German, all the the instruction and legal stuff in German on the back. So it's just a sticker. And then a Harbert, which is Italian. Those are kind of
that's a tough one to find too, right?
Yeah, those are real tough to find.
What about the Lily Letty ones that have the black and white or the white and black artwork on the back? Like instead of full color, it's like just a one color black or white, black ink. And I think those are freaking glorious. I love that line artwork. Yeah. But I've just never seen them in person, like for sale at a toy show kind of thing here in Canada.
Yeah, the Lily Letties have a black and white card.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
And I do have one of those. And you're right, they are cool because instead of like them being crossed off by kids, they're colored in.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a different, thing that they wouldn't check them off necessarily, or maybe they would, but they'd also color them in because they were just black and white.
So I learned yesterday I have my first Lily Letty.
Oh, the short snout.
Yeah, so he's got the no COO, little bit of sculpt difference on these
Yeah,
wrinkles in the crotch and the little. I do my research, but because I'm not a real nerd about that stuff, so I just don't want to include this in a lot of other biker scouts, and
yeah.
and it's a nice stiff. So it's cool. Like I don't know if I'll keep this or not, but it's my first known variant now that I'm going, or different COO. That's the Mexican variety
So you
from my
just
collection.
you just found this among the things that you already had.
Yes,
Well, that's
probably most of my collection is from the '90s till now, but
Yeah.
I haven't picked up a lot of vintage Star Wars in the past 2 or 3 years. So going back probably 10 years. This wouldn't have been from my childhood friend, which I'll show you this other one
Yeah.
with the initials, but much later and probably a bulk lot. But yeah, just going through my duplicates and unloading some. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just keep this one. My first kind of international variant.
That's
And
cool.
I may or may have not, opened this one to get a nice minty Han Solo back in the early 90s, man. Like this, I think I might have paid, 20, $30 for this back then.
Yeah, maybe
When I was working on finishing that line. But
Yeah.
yeah, I only have a couple of card backs left. This is one of them. But yeah, I'm a huge fan, man. Like I love artwork. Like I love that Hasbro is still making these with the Kenner logo on it. I
So
don't care about.
do you still keep the card backs now, even for the modern stuff?
Yes. I'm sad to say.
That's not sad. I think it's cool.
I'm not gonna lie. Let's see if I can.
You're gonna show a box full of card backs. Yes, sir.
Shabam! So retros and GI Joe and it's the artwork, man. And you know what? Most of this artwork was done by the same artist, right? That John Tyler Christopher did all these Marvel retros.
Yeah.
He did a lot of the Star Wars Black series. And then we got.
And he does a lot of the Marvel comic covers too.
Yes, yeah. So he's super great artist. One of my faves. But yeah, I do keep these, man. I don't know why. Like they could be keeping really cold people warm, in their campfires. But I don't know. It's hard. That's a comic, right? Yeah, yeah.
I have a John Tyler Christopher comic.
Yeah, I got about a dozen of them, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not a comic collector, but I wanted one of his because I like what he did. I like his artwork.
So my Let 'Em Breathe first contestant today is the Retro Biker Scout.
Now, if you go side by side with your Lily Letty one, you'll see that the snout is shorter.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I saw. That I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh, so that basically means it's a Lily Letty for those
that's the visible tell. You can look for the country of origin stuff on the leg, but that's not always obvious, right?
Yeah. So yeah, there's no country of origin, so there's no wording that says Hong Kong or Taiwan on the feet, just the year and the copyright, LFL kind of thing. A little bit of sculpt differences. It's almost like an ivory white color, like it's, like I know we know Stormtrooper's yellow and a lot of that stuff happens, but this is just a weird bone kind of. It's cool. It's just a cool variation. But look how white this new one is. Like, how can you not love these?
Yeah.
But now I need 10 more of these. Like I'm not gonna lie. If
I
I currently have 30 biker scouts that are vintage, which I do, I don't need 30 of them. So I will be selling at least 15 of them. I don't know what, just 30 to $50 a piece. I don't know what they're worth.
Well,
but that'll buy me a lot of retro biker scouts on Amazon for $11.
Do they have their guns?
Almost all of them have their guns. Yeah,
Okay, well,
I
yeah.
got a pretty solid army, man.
I mean, that's. I think if you went discount, $20 each is a pretty good price.
With blasters.
Yeah.
I'm not the thrift shop. So there's my there's my Kenner Lucy's.
Oh man, you got a few there, Rick.
I do like I was saying, I have never sold or traded any of my loose vintage Star Wars toys.
So you remind me of super awesome geek show John. He's the same way.
It's
And
because he's really handsome, right?
well, that is just a coincidence. But I remember having this conversation with him. It's like he said, "Man, I would," because he's a Yoda collector. On top of, specifically, he's a Yoda focus character on top of everything else that he collects. And he says, I remember him saying, like, "Man, this was a couple years ago. I think it'd be awesome to get one of those sideshow collectible Yodas or hot toy Yoda. Like, man, that would be awesome." But they're like, I think because they came out and now they're discontinued. They're not coming out again. But it's like $500-$600, and I just can't spend that. I just don't feel good about spending that kind of money on something like that. And I was like, John, you could just go sell like one of your Darth Vader cases full of loose figures, because you've got 7 of them or something like that. If you just sold one of them, that would pay for it. And he's like, no, can't do it. No. I was like, you have all of these figures in like doubles and triples and quadruples in some cases. Like, just sell one of those things and you could get a really cool centerpiece, unique item.
And Super John did contact me for like he wanted to add to his army, and unfortunately I had already sold them to an idiot, to some guy who's one of the 5 idiots.
What are the 5 idiots?
No spoilers. No, it's a great community for the vintage Star Wars. That Andy's kind of I know he's a little newer in it than older guys like me who've been in and been kicked out of groups and had made friends and made enemies over 30 years in the collecting the vintage Star Wars stuff. But there's so many more awesome and cool people in the collecting community, much like with our friends here in the YouTube community as well. It's so fun, man. It's one of my favorite things to collect, and I'm pretty sure you're along the same the route as me. When we say collect them all, we mean it.
Yeah. There's just a couple boxes that I need to finish off my.
Yeah, what do you need? Let me know right now. Like, or not me, just what vehicles or boxes or play sets do you need to add to your collection to make it feel a little more complete?
Well, one that's not difficult to get, I just haven't gotten it yet, is the Return of the Jedi battle damaged TIE fighter. Like, that's
okay.
That's one I just realized that I needed that one. I didn't.
That's the blue-gray one, right?
Yeah.
The damaged stickers.
With the damaged stickers, yeah.
So those damaged stickers, they were damages that went on top of the existing stripe sticker, right? So it's hard to find that without either, because I remember as a kid trying to peel off the damage after you'd already put on a damage, and they're not removable stickers like that. Paper on paper is
you put them on and they stay on. Yeah, and that's true with the X-wing ones too.
I'm pretty sure I have that vehicle, but I do not have that box.
Yeah.
It would be a box I would love to add to my collection as well. Welcome, Connor, to the room.
Well, and I see that
G-Force.
That Vintage Toy Rush Dave, he asked if I have a spreadsheet.
Hey, what's going on?
I have had spreadsheets at times, but
same.
But I'm down to the point now where it's just like 4 or 5 boxes that I need, so I don't need a spreadsheet anymore. So I need the Bespin playset box, Sears exclusive,
the cardboard.
The cardboard, yeah.
Yeah, same here. Same. I need the same play set.
So I have the play set. I don't have the box.
Oh, I have neither.
So, and then I need
I got this,
the
though.
Battle Wagon box, the Ewok Battle Wagon box, which is tough to find.
Which is strange because the later Power of the Force vehicles, like the Ewok Battle Wagon, the Skiff, some of the mini rigs, when those went into stores in 84, 85,
yeah,
they were not big sellers. So
No.
they were around like in 1990 at some stores, maybe not in big town USA, but small town Canada, like an old Kmart store, might still have some of those sitting on the shelves, new old stock, you call it, right?
Yeah.
And even to this day, I'm like, man, there's probably still a small town in Saskatchewan somewhere with an old
Somewhere up in the
Walmart
Northern Territory.
that's just got a rack full of these. Because I had my Power of the Force skiff for many years, from the 90s. I got a good deal on it. I traded. You're going to love this. I had a mint on card, not this one, a different one, still mint on card, Han Solo Power and the Force. I offered it up for sale or trade. This is in the 90s, early Facebook. And I traded it to a guy in the UK for a boxed Power of the Force skiff. And it was mint. Like the box was like C9.7321 repeating. And the skiff was 100% complete. Never played with and I sold it and sold it for top dollar. It was the most expensive Star Wars toy I ever sold. I sold it for $1,984. So the year it was out happened to be the price I wanted for it. And I got it. It didn't take that long to get it. So I think I probably could have, asked a little more, but at the time it worked out, and it went to a collection, I believe in Germany, was the guy who bought it. So always scared to ship, an item like that you kind of don't want to get crushed. So I put it like in a little Tupperware box that, I would feel safe that someone could step on it, and then, bubble wraps and all that kind of stuff. And it worked out great, but I still get scared shipping vintage box stuff. I remember a couple weeks ago, you pulled out this Falcon. It was just a box inside a box. And I'm like, that weighs like 11 grams. Like it weighs nothing. Like the post office guy could throw that across the street to you, and it would.
I mean, just throw like a big frisbee. Yeah, just.
Welcome, VTR Dave. That's Wayne, right? Two Arts Gamers. How you guys doing today? A couple more questions for you. How good was Andor, buddy?
That was peak drama, and that not just Star Wars, but any genre. Like that was such a from episode 1 to 8, it just built. And I've heard some people complain like, oh, the first few episodes are really slow going, and they are, but I don't think that's a bad thing. It just was moving towards it. It's like they knew exactly. Oh yeah, those are cool. It's like they were just moving towards the crescendo to the climax at the end. Perfect in my book. I absolutely loved it. Josh and I are just over the moon about it and can't wait for season 2. Andy Serkis and Stellan Skarsgård really, brought it. And the gal who played Mon Mothma. Those 3 kind of side stories, along with Diego Luna's character, like it was just, I thought it was so well done. And I made the comparison on our show that it was like a 70s drama. I think dramas in the 70s was where it was at. Like that's
like the old Hill Street Blues and
yeah.
No, I agree. It's my second favorite television show of all time after Better Call Saul.
Okay.
I really, I was a huge fan of Breaking Bad and, a lot of those shows, those streaming shows back in the day. well, it's not way back in the day. But yeah, when that Better Call Saul came out, was some of the more fun and
Yeah.
dramatic characters to ever be on television. I absolutely fell in love with Better Call Saul. So it is by far my favorite TV of all time. And Andor, just last year is my second favorite, and it's a close running for number one. I absolutely loved it, man. And I think again, some of the best actors who have been in Star Wars content, like to be,
Yeah.
not to throw any shade at, Tarkin and Kenobi, like Sir Alec Guinness and um, Ian McDermott and all these great actors. They didn't have the same kind of dialogue that you said that the two characters, the three characters had in Andor,
Yeah.
and I was blown away, man. Like I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. It was intense.
Almost every
time.
episode of
Yeah.
Andor, and yeah, season two, we'll call it part two. Even though we know how it all ends, man, some of the most anticipated TV, since the last season of Better Call Saul for me. So I'm super stoked for the story continuing, and we learn more about these characters that are kind of shoehorned into the Star Wars universe, but in such a great storytelling way, in my opinion. And I really, really hope that Filoni can do this with the Ahsoka show. Like, everyone knows how much I hate the character Ahsoka and how she adds nothing to my Star Wars, love at all. I don't care if anyone else likes her. It's just she's not my favorite character. She's my least favorite character.
Okay.
But I do have high hopes and high expectations for a Dave Filoni directed story, which I know he's going to have talking to George over a Subway sandwich, and Favreau, they'll all have a pizza together. And man, I can't wait. I can't wait, man. Like, I know that Favreau likes to bring in the Kenner Star Wars into the live, and Filoni brings the Kenner Star Wars into the cartoons. Again, Hammerhead. Yeah. So I think we're going to see Hammerhead in Kenner colors in the
live action?
In the live action Ahsoka series. So because I have this fancy brand section, got to play this. Yes, my left coast theory today is Kenner Hammerhead colors Moma Nadon will be in live action Ahsoka. There you go. Okay. And I got one more. It's the same theory. About that same time, Hasbro / Kenner is going to announce a third box set of retro collection action figures with Hammerhead and Walrus Man and Greedo and R5D4 and Luke X-Wing and who's the other guy? It could be. And Gonk. And the Death Star droid. Boom. So what's that? A 10-pack, 8-pack, an 8-pack, or 2 4-packs. I think the retro line is going to keep going. I don't know anything because I don't work for Hasbro in any way, but that's my left coast theory for today, and they both involve Kenner Hammerhead.
Well, you know what?
I think Black Series. I think it's a shoo-in that he's coming. Now that yesterday I saw the Doc's, the Hammerhead character from Disneyland,
Doc Ondar,
posted some a guy posted some pictures online. I'm like, please send me pictures of what's underneath his robes, like a total toy pervert that I am.
Toy perv. And
he did. And I'm like, hey, they could very easily make that a Kenner Hammerhead in the 6-inch scale. So fingers crossed, man. We get Hammerhead in all the toys
and all
vintage collection.
Glory. You know what? I will say this, Rick. So both of those are not crazy. They're very reasonable theories.
And I'm old. I'm really old at 29. And, I'm not going to be around forever. So I hope they get released soon. Like less than 2 years from now. Like I hate waiting years for toys. Like I've been waiting a year or longer for my opportunity to go to a store or on Amazon and buy myself a Black Series Biker Scout helmet. Like, I hope Hasbro gets more in line to like the McFarlane Toy Company, where Monday, he's like, "Oh, got this brand new Wonder Woman figure. Look at this. Whoa," And then 8 hours later, it's in stores, like literally, and no leaks or spoilers. It's just in the store 2 days later, and you're like, "Whoa, Hasbro!" We get an announcement. Here's a drawing of our thing, and
Hey,
then
Rick.
here's a 3D painted version. Now you can pre-order it, and it's after Christmas. It's getting everything seems to be a pre-order in the toy industry now, but it is what it is. I guess everyone's got a crowd fund because they're billion-dollar companies.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of weird things, and I want you to tell me what you think this smells like.
Baloney. It smells like. Are you opening a lunch kit?
No. This is just sitting on my little computer desk here, and is Darth Vader perfume cologne.
It probably smells like Calvin Klein.
You think? No, it doesn't smell.
Oh, it doesn't smell bad?
Well, what would you think a Darth Vader cologne should smell like?
Cinnamon. Hot cinnamon, like those candy heart things that are spicy and cinnamony.
That would be
because he's spicy.
Yeah, I would think like burnt hair or something like that.
Burnt chicken skin.
In ash. Like a campfire. It smells like a campfire. Yeah.
That was obviously like a stocking stuffer, or you didn't go out searching for that in the stores, right?
No, I did not. This was like a holiday, like it came in a pack of Star Wars related holiday things, that you could get your man, but I've never worn it.
Okay, so you've never picked up chicks because of it.
I do not know its potency.
It's not. What's that one from the Anchorman?
It doesn't.
Black Panther.
Works 70% of the time, 50% of the time.
So lately you've been showing off some of your Kenner mailers. So I
only have one. I just have the one, Rick.
Two. So my two that I have are good old Empy.
Yeah, that's the one that I have. Yeah.
And it's Trap Tarkin.
Yeah, Akbar.
Tarkin,
nice.
Akbar, excuse me. So those are my two mailaways.
Did you mail away for them?
No. These are reacquired
Gotcha.
Since collecting. And just some fun mail away boxes. Like this was a swag box. I can't remember what the swag was inside, but celebration swag like someone made.
Yeah.
Someone made a fun box. Nothing in there. And then here's another one. It's like triple the size. Free Boba Fett. And I think this had like a plastic beer cup in it.
I got a couple of other like really cool small mailer sized boxes that I think you would like as well.
Oh, those are some. That's another reason why I love the artwork on all these vintage Star Wars packages. Like as many of you know, like with the artwork I do, it's my passion. Like I don't want to draw a Barbie box or, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But then again, if Mattel, emailed me and said, "Rick, would you like to design a Ninja Turtle?" I would for sure do it.
Of course.
But I mean,
especially with the Barbie movie coming out, Rick, you might be getting a little job or two thrown your way.
That actually looks like just a fun movie to watch, man.
I hope so. I hope it doesn't.
And Ryan Gosling is like a Canadian god, so here's just a fun little bag of. So I believe one sticker is from a Droid Factory, one is from a regular R2, and one is half of a Power of the Force R2. So I do. They do fall off. It was like a little cape. They do fall off, but here's an oddball one that you might not have ever seen anyone keep or collect. Recognize that sticker?
You have to hold it still. That.
Those are always backwards no matter what I do. There we go.
Oh.
That is a.
I can't tell.
Takara wind-up R2-D2 sticker that is on his back.
Nice.
So I'm sure I found this like in a Vader case or
Right.
stuck on the leg of a figure or something. And I do have that figure, but it has stickers. So this is literally like an extra, like a trade bait. Or
Oh,
if
that's
I do
awesome.
find a Takara missing a sticker, I can always add it.
Yeah.
So I keep some weird things in my collection, and I found this going through some stuff today, and I totally forgot I have this. So I apologize, Mr. Sean Crawford, but Sean Crawford sent me. This is the yak face himself.
That's
Some
cool.
autographs. So this weekend, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to make a short or a reel or a mini video, and I'm going to give these away. Um,
Those are cool.
so yeah, I love Sean Crawford, and I love vintage Star Wars artwork, and yeah, collect them all. I think I got all my questions. And was there anything else I wanted to share with you though? I showed you my toys. What's next for collecting in Josh? Like you mentioned, you needed a couple of Kenner boxes to finish, your Star
Yeah.
Wars collection. But is there another rabbit hole that you've already jumped in, or you dipped your left foot in, and now
Um,
you're going up to your knees?
well, for a minute, okay. I'll answer this in 3 parts, Rick. I am in a little bit of a purge mode right now, where anything in excess of the vintage line, I'm evaluating if I really want to keep it in my collection.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. I'm kind of
to me,
similar right now.
in my mind, I'm simplifying, right? It's not that I want to collect everything Star Wars. I want to collect this in Star Wars, and I want to stick to it. And so that's why I want to get a couple more boxes, and then vintage wise, I'm pretty good. There's a variant or two that I'd still like to get, but that's not like anytime soon. It's not like a 2023 goal or anything like that.
Any big posters in the mail?
No, not in the mail. Again, I've kind of gotten the big ones that I wanted to get. There are still plenty that I would love to have.
Yeah, and I love you showing your posters off. It's I know people are huge fans of your poster collection, Andy. That's a cool one, man.
This is a Polish one. This is a Polish Return of the Jedi poster. In fact,
That's pretty rad.
I'm not sure I've shown it yet.
I'll
But
have to
anyway,
do some research to see what kind of Canadian, posters that might exist, other than like a little copyright line at the bottom, or an all-out French poster, which would have probably only been in Quebec,
yeah,
because Quebec's had different laws than the rest of Canada, where you go to McDonald's there or a store, they didn't have to have English on their stuff. It was like, oh, you don't speak French, then to you, huh?
you're not
So it was all French. So
Yeah.
that didn't include, but companies can't make 18 versions of packages for milk and potato chips and whatever products are going to the grocery store. So yeah, you got to draw a line somewhere, I guess.
So I am in kind of a purge mode, but some of that is to generate some funds that I'm making a pretty big Star Wars purchase for, and I'm buying me and another guy are buying a collection, and it's pretty massive. So
It's all vintage Star Wars.
it's 95% vintage Star Wars, and then 5% odds and ends of other things like some Indiana Jones figures and
Cool.
yeah, I mean it's got some cool other things to it, but it's mostly Star Wars, and that's what I'm kind of raising some funds for. So I'm simplifying so that I can make this large purchase. And within it, there are a few of the boxes that I need. So maybe so
So you
Anyway,
can cherry pick with a buddy what you want
yeah,
to add, and then unload the rest, trade off. That's I did that. I've done that. I don't know. I'll say 15 times
yeah,
myself, just personally, just bought a collection, and one was the big one. That was my high school buddy Tony. That was the big one. I
yeah.
got most stuff, but because I did run some ads in the Craigslist and the community newspapers for a little while. I don't really do that anymore because there's no one's going to contact you unless they're like, I got this ad. Do you want it? It's only $1,100. That's I'm not buying your $1,100 ad. Like,
Right.
so I'm always looking for deals, of course, too. I can't afford to pay
Now,
higher than
what's
top
next?
dollar for a lot of stuff, but yeah,
What's
it
next for
still can
Josh?
happen.
What's next for Josh is that Josh wants to. He's got bins on top of bins of toys that he wants to get rid of, and he's not sure how to do it yet.
Okay.
So both of us are probably in more of a purge mode right now than we are in a buying mode.
Have you ever done a toy show as a vendor?
That's what we're kicking around doing, and there's a couple this summer that would be pretty good. In September, I think there's the Rose City Comic Con in Portland, or even like in the spring, there's the Emerald City Comic Con in
That's
Seattle.
a big one, right?
Yeah, and and then there's SummerCon, which is in Tacoma, and that's actually a pretty fun one. It's smaller, but it's fun. Like I don't know how to explain it other than it's fun.
I've been a vendor
Going to
once.
that one, and it's
Yeah.
smaller than I did the one in Portland, which is much bigger. But anyway, yeah, we've talked about going in and seeing what it would cost to have a table and just like get rid of our stuff, because between the two of us, we got a lot of stuff that we could get rid of. And
You'd be surprised, man. Like, as you can see, like you accumulate stuff. Not everything costs hundreds of dollars, so a lot of those $10 and $20 things you get, they add up, man. I get it. So once, I've always gone to toy shows to buy and look around. I love big and small toy shows. We usually have one big one here, and then a couple small ones throughout the year in different venues. But so me and my buddy Jay, we once at a smaller toy show, because we've never been a seller at a toy show before. Hey, do you want to get a table? Sure. It was $50 for the day, kind of thing. So we loaded up his car, filled it with all of our extra Black Series and whatnot, and went to the small toy show, and we had a blast, man. Like, because there wasn't thousands of people, and like people just throwing all their loonies and their Canadian money at us. It was a pleasant experience because we could walk around and do a little shopping and talking while it wasn't busy. And then when it was busy, you put a couple of bucks in your pocket and bring less stuff home, more than $50 worth that you had to spend. And it was a blast, man. Yeah. It would be tough at a big show. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I would need help.
And sometimes at those big shows, it's like $500 for a table.
That's the other thing. But because of the traffic and the amount of people that you'd be dealing with for like, an 8 hour, however long the show is, some of these shows are more than one day now.
Right.
You need help. You need a helper. So you can have pee breaks and hot dog breaks and, shopping breaks and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea. Like if there's a couple of smaller shows, like I know Bellingham's probably a little farther away, but they have a smaller toy show, I think, a couple times a year. I remember going to that a few years back, but I would recommend it. It's a good experience, and you do meet some other collectors that you might not have met.
Right. Or and with them being somewhat local to where you're at, then your network expands. You're able to maybe find or get rid of some things a little easier than you would have before.
G4 said he'd buy your Jeep. Yeah. So as we come to a close here, any big Holy Grail kind of items, like I'm not going to use Holy Grail. What would you consider like your prized possession as a collectible item, but
that I have?
We'll open it as a general. It doesn't have to necessarily be Star Wars or an action figure, but a collectible item, a favorite thing that would be the toughest thing to part with, not because of value, but because it's badass, and or you found it for $1 at a garage sale, or your late great uncle George Lucas, senior, gave it to you or something, right? Like,
So uh, again, can I answer this in 3
sure,
parts?
sure, it could be a artwork, poster, toy, Yoda, ceramic bank related, whatever you want.
Oh yeah, my ceramic banks are right there. So that Italian Star Wars poster, I found it in a pawn shop.
No shit.
Yeah, and the guy wanted $200 for it because he knew that it was old and it was Star Wars.
Sure.
That's all they really knew. So he put $200 on it, and
Did you barter with him?
I did a little bit, and he
Yeah.
came down a little bit, but it's beautiful and it's weird and it's Italian. So like it's massive too. It's a really big poster. It's not like your typical poster size poster. And I've really grown attached to it. That would be a tough thing for me to part with, for
It
sure.
is gorgeous, man. The colors on that are,
Yeah,
partly why I love the vintage Kenner toys, the Hammerheads, the Walrus Mans, the Greedos, the bright colors. I like it, man. I would love to see that in a pawn shop up here for $200 Canadian, and I
yeah.
offer him 150 and he takes it. Yeah, I get it, man. That's awesome. Welcome, Brett. Collecting with Cool.
I've got a Return of the Jedi carded Boba Fett that
Oh,
I made a trade to get that one, and I gave up quite a bit, but I wanted it bad. So we both walked away feeling good. But
sure. You both got something you wanted, right?
yeah, the guy got a lot of things, and I got one thing. So
Yeah, but you got one cool thing. Like, if that's, I would love to have any version of a carded vintage Boba Fett. So,
yeah,
and ideally it would be the Canadian one, because for my box collection, I'm concentrating more on my boxes now than cards, because I basically sold all of my carded Star Wars figures. I didn't have a lot. I had maybe a dozen ever in my collection because they don't come up often, and they're the
yeah.
couple of dingers, the 12 backs that I did find 15 years ago, I turned right around and sold them for, a decent profit.
Right, you
And
flip it. Yeah.
I'm not a dealer, but I mean, it was an opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
The people got hundreds and hundreds of dollars from me, and I got like $1,000 in the end, kind of thing, for some cool vintage
Yeah.
carded figures. But the Canadian boxes are kind of my jam now. Like, I'll take a US Kenner TIE Fighter box if it's in good shape. But what I've recently been selling off is I have a lot of duplicate boxes. So whether it's cantinas,
You
Hoth
know what,
play
Rick?
sets,
You know what?
and
We
I've
might have
sold
to
off
chat
I've been
afterwards,
selling off
because
my US ones.
I've got a couple of Canadian boxes, and if you've got like an extra Kenner one, I'd be happy to trade you.
Sure, man.
We might have to talk after this.
Yeah, no, it's just like, it's neat because the Canadian ones had English on one side,
Right.
fully the same as the Americans, but the back side was basically a French
Yeah.
language side of the box, and it's not a big deal. Like, I would display the English side out because I am an English Canadian, but I like the made in Canada, all that kind of stuff on
Yeah.
the
And then,
packaging. Like, of course, man. It's
so Rick, the third thing that in my collection that I absolutely love, and it's a new thing. It's the Red 5 figure book.
dude. I'm thinking
amazing.
about 25 pages in, because I have to clear off my whole freaking desk. I have to move my iMac back like 11 inches so I can sit here, and I set up another table like 3 feet away so I could like put a coffee, like, because I wanted to no way hit anything, because I've spilled shit lots, man. It happens. It just boom, and so I had to set up my whole desk. And dude, man, what a phenomenal effort those guys put into that, and I am blown away as an artist, an amateur photographer, who now is like 100% an iPhone photographer
Yeah.
because my old cameras are like 2 megapixels. They're not up to snuff anymore.
Yeah.
Dude, I am so impressed, man, and happy to have had some communications with them before, after, and since they made the book, and they've sent me one. Couldn't be more happy with what they provided, man. Like,
Yeah.
and you're one of the people that kind of introduced them to me on through YouTube, but they had made some posts within some Facebook groups that I saw.
Yeah.
Dude, man, like I had no idea people in Europe are so so talented.
I
I'm
know
just kidding, guys.
it's what really makes it meaningful to me is that not only, I mean, just the book itself is impressive in every way.
I
But
don't know where to keep it. I really don't know where to keep it.
But the fact that, Josh and I kind of got to be a part of what they were doing from an early, we talked to them early on in it and kind of, on the outside looking in, but went through the process with them, and talked to them pretty regularly because I got to be the the U.S. distributor for anything that they couldn't get shipped directly to
Gotcha.
them.
Okay. Yeah.
They'd have it sent to me, and then I could see it, and then I'd ship it back to them. And so I got to see a lot of really cool things, and I got to make 2 really cool friends.
Yeah.
And then now I get to hear about how everybody loves what they've done, and that just makes me feel proud. But truly, like, the just personal stuff aside, the book is awesome. It's just awesome, like in every way. And so, like, that is something that I know I'll never get rid of.
And I don't think you could. Like, you'd need a couple of, your both your brothers would need to carry it.
Yes, we have to lift with our legs. It'd be like carrying the Ark of the Covenant around,
And as freaking badass as that book is, and it's all mostly like 98% the card backs from the Kenner line, I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to hate me for it. I'm more looking forward to the one that they do that would have pictures of, the TIE fighters and the play sets, and because that's the artwork to me that really made me fall in love with the Kenner artwork and Kim Simmons photography, the photography of the actual, Kenner photographs or the line artwork that goes with it in the instructions and stuff. So I'm assuming, they'll have some instructions and boxes, and, I'm so looking forward to that. Like, I've got a good collection of Kenner Star Wars books from different collectors all over the world. And the sheer awesomeness and the size of the Read 5 books, guys. If you haven't had a chance to get in on the recent reorder that I think might still be available, please do it, man. If you're a vintage Kenner Star Wars collector or a young collector that wants to collect it, you can learn a lot from one book, and this is probably the book to do it when you want to collect them all.
Exactly.
So thanks for bringing that up, man, because it's going to be a while before I finish that book. And when I get about a quarter of the way, I'm going to set up my camera here and maybe go over, 2 or 3 of my favorite pages, which of course, Hammerhead, and
everything
try to
you ever wanted to know about Hammerhead.
Dude, just top-notch work, guys. So hopefully you guys catch us on the replay, and you appreciate our appreciation of your awesome bookness.
Yeah. Well, they've heard me sing their praises a few times. So
absolutely, man. And there's new videos coming out all the time on YouTube, and I see some Facebook posts even yesterday. People getting their books in Canada, eh?
Yeah,
so all over the world.
Edmonton Stormtrooper.
That's the one I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cheers to those guys for making such awesomeness for all of us to collect. Any big plans for you the rest of the weekend?
Not really, but I would throw this in as a honorable mention. This is not something that's worth a tremendous amount of money, but it is something that I would have a very hard time getting rid of.
And have you drank in is that porcelain? You know, ceramic.
Yeah, it's ceramic.
So you could easily drink a nice cold
Oh yeah, and
frosty beverage and read the book with that, right?
100%. And you know, in my scout trooper helmet, you know.
I have a few Star Wars mugs. None of that cool. They're all more modern, like a stormtrooper head or a Gamorrean. Actually, I got a old Gamorrean one. Yeah, I think those are like late '80s.
Oh, the applause. No, wait. The
Maybe
applause.
they are applause. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah, those
collect,
are
dude.
cool too.
If you can collect it and it says Star Wars on it and it's vintage, I'm known to collect it. So
Oh yeah, the bank. That's cool.
it's just awesome stuff, man.
Does it work?
You know what? I bought a broken X-wing at Value Village last week for $2.99,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and it's pretty clean. There's no corrosion in the batteries compartment, but I don't have any batteries. Like I haven't needed batteries in a long time because all my mouses and keyboards are all rechargeable now,
Yeah.
and all my TV remotes are all AAA, and so
Yeah.
I got to go to Walmart and buy a 6-pack of batteries just to test it out. But yeah, I'm getting into the restoring after like a 10-year break of not restoring Falcons. I got a stack of Falcons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all incomplete in some varying degrees of turning green and yellow. But dude, I'm gonna experiment and try and retro bright them and sticker them up, and But I also want to get people in our community involved. So reach out to me if you want one of these 4 or 5 Falcons I have, and you want to participate with me in a little restoration project that you guys can, take a little video, a little vlog of, if you will, and
I'm
share your experience with it.
I'm restoring a Palitoy X-wing right now. In fact, I got it outside in some hydrogen peroxide to brighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, this one's not bad. The wings are broken, so I'm either gonna, have to plasti weld, or I'll figure it out. It's not unrealistic. It can be. I've watched a lot of videos.
Or you could just glue it so that they can't,
open or close. Sure.
Open or close. You could, because it'll still look nice on the shelf.
Yeah, no, it's fun, man. Like I sold a bunch of stormtroopers yesterday, and some snowtroopers are still available if anyone needs an army of Hoth stormtroopers. Because you got to. I was googling or checking on eBay, how much are people selling 1980 snowtroopers for? There's like 3 listings, because it's a Hoth stormtrooper. Like I'm not using the correct terms, like vintage Tusken Raider. No, there is a sand person.
Yeah,
sand people.
Yeah.
So you got to get your verbiage right and check them all. Check all the versions of it. Yeah, I've got 6 stormtroopers that I didn't sell that were the worst of the worst, the most yellow ever. And yeah, I want to put them through the shampoo peroxide, whatever all the different methods are. And I did it like 20 years ago, and I sold them off like they were so bad, or gave them away. I didn't cheat anyone out of it. But these 6 I'll keep in my collection as background, dead Army stormtroopers. Sure. But if I can make them a little white again, I'll definitely give it a shot, because I don't have a lot of experience doing that, but I'm very good at making stickers.
Yes, you are. And pins, by the way. Pins and patches.
Thanks, man. Like I love making these pins and stuff, man. So what's your favorite sports team?
Seattle Seahawks for football.
I make cool stickers too.
Oh yeah. A Coca-Cola R2.
Coca-Cola R2. So what'd you say, Seahawks?
Yeah. But
there's a Pittsburgh Steelers R2D2 sticker.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so I've made like every sports team, most college teams. Yeah, I had a lot of fun, man. Here's a Yankees with pinstripe R2D2 sticker.
Oh, that's cool.
Then, dude, I've been doing this for like 25 years, and then I got frowned upon, and I got kicked out of some Facebook groups, and no repro, and like just that kind of thing. Like,
yeah, this is
even
not
though
repro.
I'm twice the size of all these people.
That's not repro, Rick.
No, but it all started with, you know, you had to recreate the artwork for the actual
Yeah.
thing. So like I literally recreated these in perfect, line artwork, so I can wrap a bus in my vintage artwork if I needed to, or put on little Christmas lights, make a little. So I've made like dirty ones, daggable ones, and I just had fun. But I kind of don't share all that stuff all the time now, so people don't cancel me like
Yeah.
canceling the junk man or any of that fun stuff like that. But
Well, that's why I'm not going to answer VTR's question about my favorite Premier League football team because I would be excommunicated from some of our chat groups if I were to make a choice on one of those. So
my
I'm pretty
favorite
passionate about footy.
my favorite Premier League football team is the BC Lions of the Canadian Football League. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
I do. I know
What's going on, Hey Vern? So yeah, that's
I had a friend that
was
played for the Calgary Stampede.
right on, buddy.
Yeah.
I went to BC Lions camp in 1994 as a young man, free agent tryout camp. So, and they got a game tonight, and guess who the opening band is for the BC Lions home opener in BC Place Stadium is tonight. I wonder if that makes the news down in Seattle.
Is it a Seattle band?
No, dude, it's a huge rapper from the 80s.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
No, it's LL Cool J.
Oh, nice.
So there's a concert for like an hour before the football game today, downtown Vancouver. So I might be going, man.
Hey.
Tickets, I can get tickets for $25 for the Lions game. It's not raining. And then, so here's the deal. You go to a Lions game for $25,
Yeah.
You go inside, I think the beer is like $15 now. So it's almost the same price for a freaking beer as it is to get into your pro Canadian sporting event. Like, it's not hockey. Hockey's still like $100 and up, but
yeah,
insane, man. Yeah, LL Cool J is playing before the
awesome.
Lions game tonight. That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
So thanks, Andy, for talking to me about some vintage Star Wars greatness and showing off a couple of stories and sharing them with the chat and everyone on the YouTubes.
Yeah, you bet, man. It was fun. First
timer on my channel, you're always welcome to come back. I plan to do a little Ahsoka after show with, fingers crossed, Mr. Sir Eric and Ways of the Sith will join me for a little weekly show as we talk about how good or how bad the Ahsoka show is on the Disney Plus show.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
You're always welcome to take part in any of these streams, and I hope you do, because I love seeing everyone's opinions on stuff that I like.
Yeah.
So I go out and I look for people that appreciate stuff that's similar to me. I don't Google like, who hates episode 3 and watch their content. Like, it's not my jam. But I appreciate you, man, and I'm a huge fan of what you do on, the social medias with your Star Wars and your podcast with your partner there. So keep up the great work.
We're big fans of Left Coast Graphics too. So keep up the good work.
And everyone in the chat, thanks for hanging with us for an hour and a bit. And if you don't collect vintage Star Wars, it's never too late. Like I said, I started in my late 20s. I have nothing from my childhood. Andy's like 29 years old as well. And I think I'll get a copyright for playing this for 3 seconds.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's enough. So thanks everyone for coming by. I'm gonna the Redwood Forest and play with my speeder bikes. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, we'll see you.
The name is Mr. T. First name is Mr. Middle name is that period. Last name is T. Listen and listen good. I'm talking to you. When a new kid moves in on your block, what's your attitude? Do you figure, what do we need him for? Well, I pity the fool that makes that mistake. You want to know why? Then watch what happened in San Francisco, where a new member joined our team and tried to help solve the mystery of the golden medallions.